Hello and welcome to 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm the producer Jeremiah Long, and joining me as always on Mondays is our host Logan Landers. How's it going, Logan?
Hey, I'm doing awesome, Jeremiah. Another Monday, another day to talk some good football players with you, buddy. Let's keep going. Let's do it.
Yeah, and today we do have a really interesting one. It's Shawn Robinson, right?
Yep, Shawn Robinson.
Shawn Robinson plays for Missouri. He's a recent transfer over to Missouri, so I'm pretty interested to see what all he's got going on and what kind of prospects that he has coming up. So, Logan, take us in there.
Yeah, let's do it. Shawn Robinson, like you say, he's 6'2", 220 pounds, going into his junior year, and he's the quarterback for Missouri. Now, the last 2 years, he was with TCU and the Horned Frogs. He transferred to Missouri this past December, and he sat out in 2019 due to eligibility reasons because of transferring. As we all know, whenever a player transfers, they usually have to sit out a year unless something magical happens, basically. So, yeah, he's going to have a fresh start with the Mizzou Tigers. He's going to be rejuvenated and eager to play after sitting out a whole season. And, heck, who knows how many games he's going to play this year with everything going on. But, yeah, so a little bit about him. In high school, he was a four-star recruit. He was the 2016-17 Gatorade Texas Football Player of the Year in high school. And before he committed to TCU, he was recruited by LSU, Alabama, Ohio State, among other very high-profile colleges. In 2017, his freshman year at TCU, he played in 5 games. He had 3 touchdowns, 184 yards, 159 rushing yards. So overall, just a small sample. Like we see a lot of freshman quarterbacks. They don't get to play too much. But overall, Shawn Robinson had a fairly good showing his freshman year. Now, sophomore year is where he really was able to pick it up a little bit. Unfortunately, he only started 7 games, and he had a shoulder injury on his non-throwing shoulder that ended his season. Now, thankfully, it was his non-throwing shoulder as opposed to his throwing shoulder, else that could have been catastrophic. But before the injury occurred, he threw for 1,334 yards with 9 touchdowns, with 230 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns to boot. So he had a very solid sophomore season as well. Like we said, didn't play in 2019 because of eligibility and whatnot. So a lot, Missouri was ready to go there based off just his talent alone in that 2018 season. He felt confident going there and that he could be the starter. Now, some things that I like about Shawn Robinson as the player. Now, he's a dual threat quarterback. We saw that those first 2 seasons, he had a fairly good average on rushing as well as passing. He's very quick in the pocket as well. Like you said, if you're a dual threat quarterback, you got to have some quick feet. You got to be able to extend plays, get away from those, defenders that are trying to strip the ball from you and take it to the house for 6. Shawn Robinson is definitely very good with that, good with his feet, no doubt. He's also got very good elusiveness and speed, like we say, being that good dual threat quarterback. He's able to maneuver around and run around defenders like they're nothing. He's also good at throwing on the run as well. That's a good trait that a lot of dual threat quarterbacks have, is if you're able to scramble out the pocket a good bit and you can throw on the run, those are some very, once a lot of plays that get extended and you have to throw on the run, there's sometimes those big key plays in football games. Being his frame, he's got some very good long strides downfield. So if he ever breaks away and if he goes on a long run, he's definitely going to get to the end zone a little bit quicker with those long legs he's got. And he's just ready to prove himself, no doubt. After sitting out a whole season, he's just absolutely just chomping at the bits to get on the field once again for the Tigers. Now, being in the SEC, it's going to be a little bit tougher. The new schedule gets released later on today, I believe. So Missouri will find out for sure who they're going to face this year. But, man, they're going to be faced, like I said, SEC, there's no really any slouches in there. He's going to be playing against some, the Florida Gators, the Georgia Bulldogs, LSU Tigers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide, just to name a few. Man, it's hard, especially for Missouri, who's not the most powerhouse team in the SEC by any means. They're a solid team, no doubt. However, man, if you're talking about those teams I just listed who have, they're big money schools, they get the best recruits, they have top-tier coaching, it's hard for Missouri to compete, no doubt. But hopefully, Shawn Robinson is going to have a solid year. Whoever they're going to face this year, if it's going to be a shortened season, and who knows. But Shawn Robinson definitely is ready to prove himself, and I think he's up for the challenge against these tougher teams. What do you think about him, Jeremiah?
Man, being a dual threat quarterback, I almost feel like he has a slightly different playbook versus some of the SEC teams that play very on the ground, rudimentary football, and that can be a weakness and an advantage because when it comes to trying to move around in that pocket, if you have these teams that are just like one step away from trying to crush you every single time that you get the football in your hands, you do have to be able to move. And sometimes it may force him to move when he doesn't really want to move. Like that's what I keep seeing. Some of these teams might try to get him to scramble one way or the other, and like push the play in that direction, and then have a secondary idea in their head of, well, we're going to push him to the left, and then we're going to really be ready on the left. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think these time dual threat quarterbacks like this, they can be unpredictable when it comes to how you use them, because if you center every play on them constantly, making a move, then that people adjust. And if he's not a big enough and strong enough dude to go head to head with somebody on the in the defense, he's going to get plowed over every time he tries to do something. So what's your final word for Mr. Shawn Robinson?
Yeah, like you were saying with dual threat quarterbacks, especially, you're seeing a lot more of them now than you ever were in the past. They are definitely becoming more prevalent in the NFL and college as well, just based off their running ability and their ability to pass as well. Sometimes we see that a quarterback has a better ability to scramble and run as opposed to throwing the ball, while it might be opposite for some of the others. They might be able to throw the ball 70 yards and they can run for about 100 a game, maybe a little bit less. And that's just what a lot of college quarterbacks are kind of being molded into nowadays.
Yep.
There's always going to be the gunslingers, that just the Tom Brady-esque players, where you just sit in the pocket and throw it all day. But you're seeing more and more now, especially like I said, with this generation of players coming out, they're so athletic.
They are.
And Shawn Robinson is just, one of a million great college football quarterbacks who are dual threat and who can run the pocket, who can throw the ball. I think he's going to have a good year for the Tigers. He's ready to play, and he's ready to show off against any SEC opponents. He's up for the challenge. That's all I got to say about him.
Well, he will definitely have a challenge being the SEC. When we see that final schedule come out, we're going to see if the moans and groans start coming out or if the cheers start coming out. There's some interesting matchups coming through, and they're trying to make it a competitive season, but still make it a lot of fun, I think, too. So I know there's a lot of coordination going on in the background. Well, for everybody watching, we are 100 Yards of Football, Sports Talk Radio. We come to you every Monday and Wednesday live with stories about the history of football, prospects for the new generation, and team breakdowns for current teams in college and in the NFL. So you can join our team, Logan Landers, Mr. Vincent Turner, first-round draft pick from 1981 with the Atlanta Falcons, and Florida State great Bobby Butler, and our coaching expert, Kevin the Bull Jones, in addition to the fact that we started to bring you a little bit of knowledge from the basketball world every week just to keep you informed with our basketball segment with Coach Brian Spencer every week. And this is a great week to watch, too, because we have some amazing guests coming up, and you've already had a great guest earlier today. So stay tuned with us because we're going to have some great guests. And please let us know in the comments what you think about Shawn Robinson, what you think about the Missouri season coming up, and what you think generally about college football and the NFL coming up, and what you would like to see on future episodes. So for 100 Yards of Football, I'm the producer, Jeremiah Long, and this is our host, Logan Landers.